Hi everyone, my name is Tori, this is Novel Life, and welcome back to my channel. Today I have some romantasy books that you need to read. It's 2024. A lot of people have read a lot of romantasy last year. We had a brand new romantasy category on the Goodreads Choice Awards, and I am someone who is embracing my romantasy era. I'm here, I'm living for it, that's what I want. That's what I want to read. And in case you guys are like me, where you want to read more romantasy, I have some romantasy to talk about. I think I have 5 or 6 to share with you. I have read all of these, I've enjoyed them, and I want to chat about them. Now, the first 2 books are a duet, and I personally would not consider them romantasy, but I do know a lot of people that would consider it romantasy. And that is Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows. So these 2 books are part of a duet. You cannot read Ruthless Vows without reading Divine Rivals. Divine Rivals ends on a cliffhanger, and a lot of people consider this romantasy, but after reading both books, I would kind of consider them a romance, like a historical fiction, magical enchantment with a romance, if that makes sense. There's not a lot of fantastical elements in here. There's no fantasy world. Now there is some gods, so that is kind of like one fantastical aspect, but it's more so a magical world, if that makes sense. It's very much like you're living in what would be World War I or World War II, and you have these 2 people that have used typewriters. There's no like cell phones, there's no kind of technology like that, but there are these gods, but humans are fighting on behalf of those gods in this war that you see opens up in Divine Rivals. So I have a hard time considering this romantasy, but I would recommend these to people to read them because I personally absolutely love them. Divine Rivals was one of my favorite books of 2023, so of course I want to recommend this duet to you. Just use the term romantasy loosely, okay? Just use it loosely. The next book I want to talk about is Fear the Flames by Olivia Rose Darling. So I recently read this. This was my first 5-star read of the year of 2024, and I picked this up on New Year's Day, and I'm like, okay, let's dive into this romantasy world. I'm ready. I heard my friend Rachel talk about it from Raven Haired Reader. She put it on her top reads of the year. My friend Jess at Peace Love Books gifted this to me, and I was like, this is the perfect time to read this book. Literally, it's the perfect time. And this book did not disappoint. So if you're looking for a romantasy where the female character is actually strong, she doesn't have to go through this montage of training and, like gaining all these skills and learning all these things. She is strong. She's independent. She can do a lot of things. She rules this hidden kingdom, and she's ready to take back her, I guess you could say, throne, if you will. Basically, her father is the king of this huge kingdom, and she was hidden away as a child. Her uncle took her. Now, the only thing with her and why so many people want her dead and why her father kept her locked away is because a seer came when she was born and laid 5 dragon eggs at the base of her bassinet. And that means those dragons now belong to her. No one else, they only listen to her. So she has this bond with them. And so it's been like 14 years since she's seen these dragons because her uncle took her away but didn't take the dragons away. So her father's had this, her father has kept these dragons caged and not, letting them do anything, which is so sad to me. What gets me is the romance in this book. So our main male character, Caden, he is a commander for another kingdom, like a smaller kingdom within the big kingdom, if that makes sense. There's a map and it helps, okay? But he partners and allies himself with her to fight this war. And she's like, you're going to help me get my dragons back, and after that, I'll help you fight in this war to take him down completely. And he's like, deal. And then they start to fall in love. It is like 2 equals, like fighting wise. No one in his army can like compete with her of how she flings knives and how accurate she is. And she's just so witty and she's so powerful in and of herself. And I love it. Like without the dragons, you know what I mean? So this was a very empowering fantasy romance. That's a good way to put it. So if you're looking for it, it is kind of long, but it's so worth it. I loved it. Highly recommend this one. The next book I have is Bring Me Your Midnight by Rachel Griffin. So this is a romantasy, but more on the new adult YA side, but I still would recommend it as a romantasy. I loved this book. So if you like Belladonna or Foxglove, if you really enjoyed those books, you would enjoy this book. So our female character, she comes from this line of witches, and you see that she is supposed to get married to the mayor across the canal, his son. and it's kind of an arranged marriage. He's human, she's a witch, so now they have to like combine. It's mostly protection for the witches to basically say, you know, they're not going to come after us, they're not going to try and eliminate us and kill us off, you know, like we have it locked into where like we can rule our island and they can, you know, have the mainland and stuff like that. And she kind of just goes along with it until one night, basically they do this ritual once a month where they expel all of their excess magic into the sea. And she does this, and then she kind of like wanders off when she sees this light. And she finds this boy that's around her age. And she finds out there's all of these secrets that her mother, who is head of her coven and head of the witches, have been hiding all this time. She finds out a lot about her magic and how like they're only supposed to use light magic. And it's literally like tiny magic to like fill a cup of tea or, you know, put enchantments into perfume. Like it's not the magic that their people have been used to previously in like years and centuries before. So the boy kind of like opens up her mind and shows her that there's a lot of stuff that you don't really know going on. And I really loved this. It was a very sweet romance, and I don't know, I really enjoyed this. It's more, like I said, on the YA side, but I consider it a fantasy romance and I would highly check it out. Another book I have is Heavenly Bodies by Amani Iru. So this book is one that I talked about in my top books of the year. Another romantasy I absolutely loved. I fell in love with this book. Now, this takes more of a fantastical world and adds some like mythology to it, which is very unique in its own fantasy way, I guess you could say. Like they're gods and goddesses and stuff like that, but there's this whole like ancient epic love that's there that you really start to figure out towards the end of the book. That's not necessarily a spoiler, but she is once again a very powerful female character, and she kind of has to take refuge in a nearby kingdom when her parents are killed and her kingdom is taken over by a rival kingdom that is like going from kingdom to kingdom to kind of like conquer more. She takes refuge in an ally kingdom, and they're like, you know, you're going to train on the three. So there's very few people in this world, fantasy world, that possess the three, which is like three different magical powers. The prince of the kingdom where she's seeking refuge also has power of the three. She has not been trained in hers, he has. So basically it's her training and like learning and understanding her powers. Now, it's not like the whole training montage that you see with some female characters in fantasy romances. It's her just understanding her magic and learning how to use it. And I personally really loved that they're forced together. They're forced to work together. They have this really funny and witty banter back and forth, which makes like that training montage kind of go quickly. But I personally really enjoyed it, and I would highly recommend checking out this by Amani Iru. I love this book. I think this first book is in Kindle Unlimited, and the second book is on my shelves. I've yet to read it, but I really want to. I've heard really good things, so yeah, definitely check out this one too. The next book I have is one that if you're a little bit newer to romantasy, if you just kind of want to like dip your toe in but don't want to dive in, it's Killers and Monsters by Cleo Evans. So this book is basically set in what would be the human world, but it has a lot more fantastical things. There's more fantastical creatures, but it's really cool because there's like this mafia aspect with this book. So you see our female character at 18, she's supposed to be married off to this dragon who is part of another mafia, like another mafia family, and she's like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, but she's married off, and basically after they get married, he kind of puts her in this house with her bodyguard, that's it, and like a couple of house staff, and he leaves her for like 10 years, and he's finally like, maybe I should go see how my wife is doing. And I would say this is like pure spice. This is a very spicy fantasy book, but I really love how Cleo Evans wrote this polyamorous relationship, because not only does she have a relationship with this dragon shifter, it was very interesting, as well as she has a relationship with her bodyguard, and there's this like deal that's taken, you know, that's there that you find out in the middle of the book between them, and it gets very interesting. But if you're someone who's looking for more of like a spicy romantasy, like super spicy romantasy, definitely check out this series by Cleo Evans. This one is one of my favorites in the series. I read the Female. That one also is good. It's a Perseus and Medusa retelling, but Killers and Monsters is one of my favorites. It's polyamorous, like I said. Bodyguard, he's human. She is a mafia princess, and he is a dragon shifter. And the last book I have to talk about is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V. Schwab. So I haven't talked about this book since I've started my channel, and I put all of my books, like I reorganized my whole library. I have a lot more space, so now I get to see all of my books. They're all displayed. Nothing's hiding and double stacked or anything like that. So when I saw this book, I was like, wow, I forgot I had this book. And I feel like if you're just getting into romantasy, this is also a really good kind of like starter book, if you will. I have never read anything else by V. Schwab. I have another book on my shelves I want to read, but I found this really interesting because our female character, she is kind of dealt this card where she is not remembered by people. Like, it's literally her invisible life. So she has gone now years and years and years, decades, centuries, all this stuff like that, being invisible, and no one can see her except the person who gave her this curse, which I'm pretty sure is just like Death himself. And it's interesting because there's this one human boy that finally can start to see her, and that's kind of where the story opens up. I remember reading this thinking like, oh my god, this is so good. So if you were someone who liked Divine Rivals, or Divine Rivals interests you, but you want more of the fantasy world and magical elements and enchantment type whimsical stuff, this book is kind of like a step farther in that direction. So in my head, it's like Divine Rivals is very light romantasy, like very light romantasy. This would be like the middle ground between, you know, this and like the other end of the spectrum. And then like true romantasy would be like Fear the Flames. That's kind of like how I would categorize it from level 1, 2, and 3. So this would be level 2. Fear the Flames would be level 3. Divine Rivals would be level 1. But I remember reading this and I loved it. So it's one of those things that I feel like this book kind of gets lost because it had its moment like 3 years ago. But if you haven't read it and you're someone who's just getting started, or you read a lot of romantasy last year but you haven't read this, definitely check out this one. It is very good. I remember crying in this book, so that's to be said. I don't always cry a lot in books, but I would highly recommend this one too. Like I said, 2024 is the year of romantasy for me. I'm ready to dive into more. I'm ready to just eat up all the romantasy books. I definitely have a lot on my TBR that I want to read. Some of them was on my January TBR, but I'm going to spread them out over the year and just, you know, devour them and eat them up. So if you have any romantasy recommendations for me, drop them in the comments down below, please and thank you. I would love that. If you've made it this far in the video, for the emoji, drop me the sparkle emoji or anything like that. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe for more content for me. As always, I hope you're living a novel life, and I will see you in my next one. Bye, guys.